Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Between the Lines, provided by Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park. I'm Paul Allen, play-by-play guy for the Vikings, filling in for Tatum Everett. Here's Ben Leber. The Vikings lost 30-20 to the LA Rams, and the only thing louder than those manicuring the field behind us was the crowd here at SoFi when a safety took place at the end of the game to win it for the LA Rams. Byron Young threw down our quarterback, Sam Darnold, in the end zone. And in a game that had a lot of penalties, well, there needed to be one more. It was uncalled. Young grabbed him by the face mask and threw him down.
Look, I understand that on this particular scoring play that you cannot review it and you can't review a penalty or a penalty that wasn't called.
Yeah.
I think the NFL just needs to put a little addendum in there. Come this offseason, the competition committee, please look at this tape and say, look, this is a scoring situation where we have to review it, because if you miss the penalty, it's no longer a scoring play. It's absolutely impactful that this whole thing be reviewed. So this is not a traditional scoring play.
Right.
This is one of those non-traditional scoring plays that I think has to be reviewed. The point is, though, look, the chances of us going down 8 in that situation, to drive all the way down, get a 2-point conversion after a score, probably pretty low. But you want to give yourself a chance. We just obviously didn't do enough in this game to take control, go down there and actually have a lead at the end of the game and try to win this game. I'm just like, these carpet cleaning guys, they've got me all flustered.
The Between the Lines provided by Continental Diamond, which sells jewelry. And speaking of jewels, Sean McVay, with the victory, has become the winningest coach in the history of Rams football. 80 victories, passing the legendary John Robinson. And he has a couple of jewels for receivers who both returned for this game. Cooper Kupp, the Super Bowl 56 MVP, he had a touchdown. Puka Nacua had more than 100 yards. Those guys are good.
Yeah, and they obviously highlighted Nacua early and pretty much throughout the whole game. They asked Cooper Kupp to come in late in the game for a couple crucial targets and some catches there, some big conversions. But obviously the game plan was get the ball out quick.
Yep.
Don't let B-Flow's defense get to the quarterback, and just put it in Nakua's hands. And I did not realize, this is my mistake, I didn't realize how big and thick Nacua was.
Right.
I mean, he is a hard guy to defend, and he can get himself open. So the game plan, it just seemed to work for the Rams and what they were trying to do. They switched it up a little bit in the second half, call some deeper shots. We called off our dogs a little bit, and that just worked out perfectly because we stopped blitzing. They called deeper shots. They had more opportunities to get the ball down the field. And then, obviously, their run game. I mean, they go for just over 100 yards. Although we held them to like 3.3 yards a rush.
They had 87 rushing yards at halftime, so like 13-14 the second half.
It was so effective.
Yeah.
It was so effective, and they kept our defense on our heels.
Well, how about this? I mean, you come into a game talking about those jewels in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and it's DeMarcus Robinson who has a 2-touchdown game. He made a couple of nice grabs. Well, actually, one he was wide open. But his first touchdown, front right of the end zone, that was a heck of a catch. That was big in this game.
Yeah, it was a great catch, and it was actually a great throw by Stafford as well. And I actually thought when I was watching it live, I thought maybe he had pushed off. I think it was on Murphy. I thought he had pushed off, but actually it was just him getting grabbed a little bit. So it was great ball placement, and that's just it. We talked about before this game started, if they have both their big stud wide receivers back, like how much different their offense looks. Now they have all their weapons. They can be a little bit more versatile. It's really hard for the defense to cue in on just one particular guy or even two in this situation, and then he gets loose for a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, and with Matthew Stafford, he's football immortality. He's a Super Bowl winner, 16th year from Georgia, first overall pick in 2009. Leber sacked him, and actually somebody sacking Matthew Stafford would have been novel this evening. We finished with 0 sacks for the first time this season. And the Vikings, speaking of Byron Murphy Jr., he had an interception, which means the Vikings have 12 interceptions. That leads the NFL. But Stafford came into the game with 3 passing touchdowns. He had 4 this evening. I mean, how much did Kupp and Nacua play into that? And Kyron Williams, he caught a touchdown, meaning he has scored in 10 consecutive games. That ties a Rams record. When they have their full complement, they're a pretty good team.
They're a real good team. Like I said, they kept us off balance. and it allowed Stafford to get into a rhythm. All that first half, quick passing game and stuff, it's not like he had to make a bunch of tough reads. He didn't really have to play the quarterback position a lot. And that also leads to the fact that he doesn't have to go through his progressions.
Yeah.
So it's just a quick, first primary target. He gets the ball out. And then after that, it was just like, then you can kind of pick your poison. Then he had us on our heels. Then the run game was going. And then they could take some deep shots in the second half, which didn't always work out. I mean, that's where Murphy got his interception was on the deep overthrow. But it just gave us something else to chew on when we come back to the sideline defensively. Like, oh my gosh, now what are we going to do? Dial up a pressure now, and they're just going to get the ball out, or we pull back and they're going to throw the ball deep.
Injuries were a common thread this evening for both teams, but the biggest one, Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle, went out at the end of the first half, did not return. Speaking of injuries, hopefully when the Vikings resume a week from Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, that's a night game. If you missed it, it was flexed to Sunday Night Football. Hopefully, leading tackler and kind of inspiration for the defense, Blake Cashman, Eden Prairie's finest, can return. And we certainly are not putting the last two losses on not having Blake Cashman. But, wow, he's a wonderful player they've been missing.
Yeah, I can't believe, just how different we look, the different lineups that we've shown because of it. We've had Van Ginkel play the inside linebacker spot. We've had Dallas Turner the last game and a little bit this game play the inside linebacker spot. We've seen Josh Metellus in there as well, even on some running downs when he's more of a safety build. Then you got Grugier Hill that's come in.
Yeah.
So we just haven't found the right mix to replace him. And you talked about it during the game. He's sneaky good on these blitzes.
Yes.
When he gets downhill and he's an extra guy in some of these gaps, he's very, very good. So he's a key part of this defense that we've been missing the last couple of games.
Well, I mean, you were a linebacker for many years in the NFL. You know 1,000 times more about it than me and us. But, like, Cashman goes down, and now Van Ginkel is playing some inside, playing some outside. Van Ginkel is that outside linebacker off the ball bit. Shoot, I mean, we're talking 2 defensive touchdowns here, and in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So when you lose somebody like Cashman, explain this for us. It like is a trickle-down effect. Metellus is now all of a sudden doing different things, right?
Well, a little bit, we always talk about next man up. And in this situation, they just don't feel comfortable about the next immediate guy up to replace him. Like I've been saying, they've been putting other guys that are outside linebackers in that spot, and that's just not their read. These guys that play on the edge, they're used to seeing things on the line of scrimmage. They're not used to being off the ball, having to read guards, having to read some of that triangle in the middle to see some of these run meshes. It's just out of their character and what they normally do. We are so much better when Van Ginkel's on the line, playing that outside linebacker spot and that wide technique. He's really good against the run. Not a lot of things go around him on the edge. So that's his best spot, and we just don't look the same when he's got to play off the ball.
Trent Sherfield Sr. scored his first touchdown wearing the Vikings colors. Josh Oliver scored his second touchdown this year. Sam came out of the gate with a couple of quick touchdowns for 14 points. And Indianapolis, as we mentioned, is next. Hopefully Cashman's able to play in that game. But when it comes to just like settling down over the weekend, starting the routine to practice, cadence, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, mock game on Saturday, then the real game on Sunday. If you were to identify some things that you would just like to see change, I'd like to begin with decreasing the penalties. I mean, the Vikings have just gotten a little sloppy with these penalties. What else would there be?
Well, and just to say on the penalty thing, I mean, some of these things, like I get it, some aggressive mistakes by our defense. We got hands to the face. You just got to know to pull that hand back when you see that guy's head leverage back. You got a couple defensive pass interference calls. Sometimes defensive coordinators can live with that because those are aggressive penalties. It's the pre-snap variety that I think drives the coaches crazy. And that's 2 games now in a row. Offensively, we can't get lined up. We got guys pointing at each other like, are you supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be here? We don't get on the ball. We have illegal formations. We have false starts. Those sort of undisciplined penalties have to get cleaned up. But I would say things that need to change from a schematic standpoint, we've got to get back to stopping the run a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, that first half, they gashed us. They pulled off a little bit, and we made some adjustments in the second half, but that first half gashed us. We have to find a way to be the aggressors on defense again. We were doing that so well for the first handful of games. We are not the aggressors on defense anymore. We're getting picked apart in our secondary. We heard it 2 games ago that we had miscommunication in the back end. We have to get the guys in the back end to understand what their coverage is. And then I would say offensively, we have to just keep our balance with the run game.
Yeah.
When we had the first 2 drives, we had a great balance of run pass. Then we have 8 consecutive plays, even with the penalties in there. We didn't call a run, and we have to punt on those two series. So I think finding balance in the run game and getting somebody else other than Aaron Jones to step up at that running back spot.
Well, it obviously is not preferred to lose 2 consecutive games, but Vikings fans, don't forget, your team won the first 5. So even though right now it feels awful because your favorite team, our favorite team, has lost 2 in a row, the team is still 5-2 and in a wonderful spot, chock full of talent all over the field. For Ben Leber, I'm Paul Allen. This is Between the Lines, provided by Continental Diamond.